but we can spend hours and hours unpicking and unpicking and unpicking and seeing the way this stuff all relates together. Nothing is wasted. Nothing at all is wasted. It's a massive, massive design message for us. Yes, this is an example of a positive reinforcement. It's not to do with being good, it's to do with the fact it had an effect positively upon something else, which occurs.
Wondering why I'm here, so am I, so am I.
They were all talking. Right? Everybody had their mouths moving and their lips moving, and maybe the ears were open, maybe they weren't, maybe just the mouths were open.
All of these now, I'm calling environment. For Rebecca, it's going to be very different because suddenly it's a nice group, and suddenly she'll be as if she was.
David, is that you in the black? Wow, you guys are good. Oh, that's no.
But I'm a teacher in a school.
Yeah, she's marking her territory.
Metaphor, what do I want to be? And like a joke, right? A friend just, sent me a text message and he called me Fox. And of course, there's the, the flirtatious innuendo, but I started to think about it. I'm like, that's the only animal. That's the only thing I've heard. And I thought, yeah, foxes are they're wise, they're intelligent. And then I started to read a poem by Adrian.
He was a professor, and my inaugural lecture at St Mary's in London, I was going on about something and basically said, if we don't do something about climate change, we're completely fucked. In front of a lot of very, very eminent and old school professors who just went ballistic, because this was not done. Anyway, the report was, they didn't say anything about the lecture, they just said, in a very earthy piece of work. Paul decided to sort of launch off in his academic career, which has been a monumental failure, but then again it's always quite fun to sort of fail. But that vulnerability to get things into the open and make people wake up, I think that's really useful. So I'm with you.
And find a spot that speaks to you. And roughly translated, in French we'd call it a lieu sacré, a sacred space. But what we would like you to do is be very conscious of your surroundings and your choices. So you're going to leave the circle, you're going to go find a spot and take 5 minutes to do a meditation whereby you choose one of your senses. It could be touch, it could be the sun on your face, but you're choosing one of your senses and you're going to expose yourself to the elements. So you're choosing the elements around, pick one, really focus in on your senses, and then just go through a meditation where you're breathing.
That will really attune ourselves to movement, to nature. Okay, we present the world around us, but to call ourselves into the vital presence of that world and into deep and attentive presence with one another.
And have one just in front of the other. So I just put my right one slightly in front of the left.
No filming me. I do not authorize this.
Whoa, that's good.
Sideways.
You don't even know where it is, do you? You don't even know where it is.
Just do. Oh, look at this styling! Styling! Look at that one! Yeah! Makes us all inward looking, you know, into ourselves and so on. At what point can we have the activity extend ourselves back into the world? Well, we'd say we need a certain skill level, but I'm not sure skill is the right language to use here. I think it's more, skill sometimes gets in the way. You know, we get so focused on particular games and sports and so on, it blocks us in as well.
It's a sense of energy in our lives, this sense of willing ourselves into movement, right? Determination. I want to do a run today. Go, 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 go. And if you know Maureen, she's someone who's full of this charismatic energy. And for the first time in her life, you know, when you go through chemo, the energy goes. And so she's playing with this notion of really attuning to her energy. They would go into small groups. So there's another group of it would attune. So say it's a rhythm that you're hearing, or maybe it's a visual motion of a certain insect. But in a small group, you would not talk, and again, sorry to you. You would attune to one kind of, like, say they make their way over to this other group of three, that might be eyeballing another group of three, so then it gets complicated, right? So there will be this sharing of groups of threes coming together, and it will almost be like an echo, or a, what's that, like I'll do a thing, and then we'll go from yours to mine, and there'll be this, and then when it's ready, then this kind of two group of three will join this other group of, it'll be kind of like this kind of dance that will emerge. But her thing is about movement and stillness, and so there'll be a peak, right? There'll be a peak of the dance forming, where we kind of have all of the group's movement in it, and then you'll start slowing it down, and as a group we will naturally, without talking, move from our wonderful dance into stillness. And when that's over, we will debrief. Just kidding.
We've journeyed our way down the valley from the car park.
The dog's getting right into this one. This is the best activity yet.
And one of the things that we do in the Pop-Up Foundation is a project called Planting Ideas, where we plant people in the ground. And about 2 weeks ago, at the start of the Chelsea Festival, which is the flower festival, we curated an event with all different people from the UK and a few people from other parts of the world, and we put them in wooden planters up to about here at Battersea Power Station, and left them there for the afternoon while they talked about sustainable living and different projects. Each person was like an expert in something to do with sustainable living, and it was a Planting Ideas project around sustainable living that we were kicking off. And Victoria, is the second go at it, basically, but a variation, because you never do the same thing twice. So what I suggested to Tim that we could do is to round off the afternoon before we go to the pub, is we're going to systematically walk down the flow of the river and plant people along the way. And you'll be planted in the flow, looking that way, so all you see is the back of the head of the person in front of you. So you won't be alone in the forest, but you'll be close, far enough away. Perhaps if you wanted to have a conversation, you could have that. But the intention is just to ground yourself into this place just one more time before we finish, and reflect on what you've been going through during the day and the flow of what we did, the metaphor. And to be in a position by the end of it where we will come and film you. And we're going to film just a little capture. It might be a word, it might be a feeling you've got, it might be something you'd like to say about the afternoon, but it's specifically around this idea of where do you go from this? Where's the journey next? Where's this flow going to take you next? So thinking about what you picked up during the event and just how it's maybe going on elsewhere. Okay, so it's very open, very fluid, but the gist of it is we're all going to start up there and in a big long line
the river is perfect because that's sort of my metaphor right now. I've sort of navigated my way away from thinking in terms of feet, and now it seems as though I'm coming back to that ocean of ideas and embodiment.
Great. Coming around, flowing with the river.
Hello, Ted
Julie.
helped me realize that you don't have to make noise for your voice to be heard, and I'm taking that into my thinking in terms of inviting others to let their voice be heard in whatever way it needs to be heard.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'll come back. I won't leave you.
What actually happened with us is we started to sing in this world. That's a Merleau-Pontian expression. To sing ourselves into communion with others in this world, and to experience the joy in that breakout of song, and this connection I feel with a group that wasn't bounded by university walls, but almost feeling that notion of space, this sense of coming together in this openness of space. And just what's going to stay with me is this feeling of going back to earth, the image of Paul eating the earth, and how I might just feel more earthy in my explorations and grounded.
As I join the other video recorder, who's in the middle of the jungle here. She's buried right up.
And I was thinking, what is my responsibility to be part of something without being invasive? And so as I'm part of this river, and as a part of many people sharing, this is what I want to take with me. What is my responsibility to be part, be dynamic, but yet not invasive? So thank you.
Coming to you now, Michelle. River flowing down into rather rocky bit here, but
Bringing that group together to share the energy reminds me of where we need to go with that energy flow within our field, and it helps me have, I don't know whether it's hope or you know, a continual renewal of that energy that we have to reach, you know,
working my way down to Ray, who's very much deeply buried.
The idea of what my action can, how my action affects my relationship with nature. I feel very connected with nature, that I'm looking forward to other activities like this.
Who's right up to her.
Of transition, in which I started in a state of disconnect and gradually became more and more connected to multiple elements. And it ends very symbolically as I am physically connected with my environment, and I think we all need a reminder of that every now and then. So
the logs.
Stick in the mud. Thinking about the water course, and thinking about the people behind me, who I can hear behind me, the people who came before, and thinking about how do I move forward, just around that bend for the people who come after, my kids' kids, future generations. So what do we do, not to be that stick in the mud, but keep with the flow, for the sake of the next generations.
Awesome. I'm going down. Oh my word, this is a difficult bit to climb. She's planted. And what's your idea?
Quiet
Jenny.
contemplation.
Beautiful. A little bit of stillness as the water settles there behind the barrier. The flow is getting very, very difficult. It weaves through here at speed.
I think despite being rooted here, still being part of the flow, part of the connectivity, despite being rooted in a particular, so maybe it's rooted in a particular method of research or style of inquiry, but we're still part of the whole flow that is this kinesthetic movement study.
It's an open area, and now we get to Peter.
You know, the relational side of
Leaving in to Jean, who's got a rather nice bit on Sandy.
I'm getting my feet wet in the metaphors of life.
Patrick, who's now in awe.
For a walk in a forest.
Beauty. I'm scared about twisting my ankle.
Simply ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I'm about 1/8 back to where I I came originally, and
where you'll end.
one day we'll go back to again. So just dig it out right here, and I'll just go and flop right down and bury me here, and I'll be good.
I'm moving my way down now to the next break. I'm reaching Paul. He's been contemplating patiently. So here we are near the end of the flow. They all had lots to say. So Paul, man who wants to plant ideas, what do you want to pass on?
Ashes to ashes, was that what they said before? Funk to funky.
And just play your trumpet and hope for the best. To a man who's really been an architect was this whole event, who's a big hole digger, an eco-literacy expert. Chris, he's buried.
Holes we dug in the riverbed today. But as I'm sitting here contemplating life and existence and the whole of the universe, I'm realizing that I'll never forget the fact that I am embedded, and I have to remember that I'm always part of something bigger than.
Last but not least, Mr. Hopper, at the closest to the ocean of all of us.
Well, the day's been great, the people are great. The ability to adapt and work with each other, that's what we need for the future. Because we can organise as a collective with nature, many new things will emerge, and maybe the world will become a better place for everyone, and also a peaceful place. Let's hope for the future. Thank you.
Well said.
February 15th, so it's fresh in my mind.
Oh, nice. Okay. Was that like a master's?
Thanks.